Hi everyone, welcome to a MOC Review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Yari. Now this MOC has a good bit of history within the Bionicle community, even though it's not actually canon. See, this model was an entry for the 2004 Rahi contest, and it was declared one of the winners. Unfortunately, it never ranked high enough to be featured within the Rahi book to become canonized with Bionicle. That said though, the designer did publicly post the entry photos of this MOC, so we can see exactly how it's built. So after some time of staring at the photos for way too long, I was able to reverse engineer it and thought it'd be fun to feature it on the channel. Taking a look at the build, it is very clearly a MOC inspired by a lobster, and a red one at that. Fun fact, you can actually recolor this into a blue variation for the most part. Anyway, starting at the head, it is a simple little construction built around a bunch of lift arms and connectors. At the front you get these ball joints, which act as the creature's big beady eyes, and some hoses for the antenna. Moving down to the torso, it is made of a bunch of lift arms and connectors, with Technic panels on the sides to fill in the gaps. There's also some tubes on the top to give the model a more natural flow to it. The front claws are pretty basic, just being some Balrock limbs, connectors, and these shield pieces. The legs are just as simple too, being a standard Roxy leg assembly, but without the foot, and all 6 legs are completely identical. And moving down to the tail, the majority of it is made of these Roxy backplate assemblies. Notably, these backplates actually have Krata within them. I don't know why, but they're there. And the end of the tail is made of a Balrock shield and some Balrock torso pieces. Alright, articulation wise, this thing is fairly well articulated. So, you have a ball joint at the head here, so it can go side to the side that far. The other side that far can go all the way up, down that far, and you get a full rotation. It's a ball joint with the connector facing down, so you do get a good range of motion there, especially for a head. The front claws here are on a pin, so you get a hinge right there, and it can go down that far, up that far. Then you get 2 ball joints, so the arm can move in whatever way you want between the hinge and the ball joints. You really have no limit in terms of articulation. You can get over that far, back that far, crazy stuff. It's ball joints, lots of room. And then for each leg, all the legs are articulated exactly the same. You have a pin axle right there on all of them, so you get a hinge motion and it can go all the way around. Then you get a ball joint, so you get all your standard ball joint movements, and then you get a hinged ball joint here, so it can go up that far and then down that far. And as I said, all the legs, all 6 of them, are exactly the same. So, and then coming to the back, you have a ball joint under here, and because it's not locked in, you do get a bit of movement right there, and it can kind of rotate just a little, not much. But then you get a ball joint here, here, and down at the tail here. So the tail can articulate in whatever manner you want. It's really not hindered at all. This thing is really big, and let me move back a little. Yeah, there we go. So you get all kinds of crazy movement, and sometimes the back plate pops open. Mine are pretty tight, so there we go. Yeah, so overall the articulation on the Yari is pretty good. And with all its legs, it can hold itself up very nicely, so you don't have to worry about it not being able to stand. Alright, issues with this MOC. Yeah, there really isn't any major issues with this MOC. It's solid, coherent, and well articulated. But if I wanted to get really picky, the Roxy backplates can pop open in certain situations, ruining the sculpt. Another possible issue is that this thing takes up a lot of shelf space, because it's short and long. And I mean like really long, coming in at about 46 centimeters or 18 inches, making this thing a real shelf hog. Speaking of which, and comparison time, let's move back, move this thing over, move up, standard stuff. Here's the Yari next to a Mata build. Move the head down, turn it out of the way. This really shows how high the Yari is. Like that's not even coming up to Liwa's shoulders. So here it is next to a Metru and an Anika. So this thing's short, but in terms of the body, it is much bigger in terms of lengthwise. So yeah, definitely longer and shorter than taller. And because this thing almost became canon, here it is next to the Tatarak. So once again, short. Now the last thing I want to talk about with this model is all the rare and expensive pieces, as the Yari is actually really expensive to recreate. That's mainly because of all the black and white pin axles, and there is a lot of them, like way too many. But if you're not picky about colors, just don't get these, it's not worth it. There's also some more elusive pieces on this model, such as the red ratcheted socket pieces and the red Borak shield, as well as the long rigid tubes that make up the antenna. Other than that though, the model is actually fairly easy to get parts for. Overall, the Yari is an absolutely wonderful model, which feels right at home next to other canon Bionicle rahi. It's unfortunate this MOC didn't get canonized, because it deserves way more love and credit than it actually gets. It's a solid and well-rounded model that does an excellent job conveying the visual appearance of a lobster. I cannot praise this build enough, and I highly recommend you give it a build. It's just lovely. So there you have the Yari, the forgotten rahi. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date with all my latest videos. And with that, I'm Legend, and I will see you all next time.